done this so many times. Okay, now we're recording. So hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. We're here to honor Jeremy Taylor on the 3rd anniversary of his passing. And we're here to celebrate all the wonderful things that he left us in our lives and what we continue to carry on his legacy. So I'm so glad that you all have come today. And I wanted to first have Patty start us out with her piece, and we're gonna do our best to keep within 3 minutes, just for time's sake. But don't feel pressured if you hear my timer go off. Finish whatever you were trying to say, and then we can move on. But anyway, so that's the plan for today. So Patty, you want to start?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Patty Ashley here in Longmont, Colorado, and I'm really, really excited to share and honor Jeremy with all of y'all today. And I want to thank Billy too for pulling this all together. I think it's really important for us to honor people that we love on the anniversary date of their deaths. And 3 years seems really significant because we talk about three a lot in dream work and fairy tales. And so I mentioned the idea to Billy, and she did all the heavy lifting. So thank you, Billy, for doing that.
You're
She's put
welcome.
all this together and brought us all here. Um, and so I wanted to try and see how, there's, like as Jeremy would say, come to an arbitrary close at the dream group. How can we all say in 3 minutes or less what Jeremy
Mhm.
Taylor means to us? So I'm going to give it a shot, and then each of you will get your name pulled. And I think it's going to be really serendipitous the way it's going to work today. So
Yeah.
I learned about Jeremy when I still lived in Virginia, like 25, 30 years ago, and I did facilitated dream retreats. Pat McNeil is here today. Where's Pat? There she is.
Mhm.
Um, Thanks to Pat, she actually introduced me to Jeremy Taylor and Kelly Good, and we co-facilitated dream groups using the projective model. So when I moved to Colorado and met Billy at a psychic fair in Niwot, and she told me she brought him here twice a year, I was stunned because I thought, oh my God, I get to meet this man live and in person. And so it took me a few years, but I finally got to the first retreat, put my name in the bowl, and I was the first dream that was pulled on the opening night of the retreat. And it's a story that many of you have heard before, but it's definitely my aha Jeremy story,
Well,
where his projection on my dream was I have a book to write. So I pulled out all my dissertation notes, and I pulled out all the stuff that I put in the closet because I'd been rejected by publishers in the past. 5 years determined because Jeremy said that. And 5 years ago, it'll be this April Fool's Day when the book was published. So that is my huge aha. There's, again, tons of stories I could tell about Jeremy, but I'm just going to leave you with that one. Here's the book. And he wrote the foreword. So
mm,
I just want to read the very first sentence so you hear a little bit of Jeremy's
uh,
voice, and then we'll move on. So he writes, Patty has learned through her own experience that perfection is the enemy of truth, and the truth ever and always is paradoxical and sometimes slow to reveal itself. So thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Billy, and thank you all for being here.
oh, that's so sweet. That's perfect, Patty. Thank you so much. Yeah,
Hi.
I was there when that happened. I was right there, of course, because it was the retreat, and uh the looks on everybody's faces were like, "What? How did you get this from this dream?" But I remember the dream was you had a recurring dream about forgetting where the hotel room was and having to go down and ask
The
the
key.
key for the key. Yeah. And I thought, so, and then we're all like, how in the world did you get that from that dream? But that was the magic of Jeremy. He would come up with stuff sometimes just out of the blue. So anyway, today I put everybody's name. This is my beautiful dreamer bowl that was gifted to me by a dreamer a few years back, and it has sat quiet and has collected a little dust because I haven't had the retreats for over a year and a half now, because of the COVID, all of this stuff going on. So it was such a beautiful feeling to put everybody's name in the bowl and to fill this up again. So, and I was grateful for the connection that Jeremy has given to all of us so that we can all be a community. All right, so let's see who comes out first out of the bowl today. Bob Gardner, and he's not here.
I'll get him.
Bob, we need you.
I'm going to text him.
Okay. Do you
Because
mind
I
if
think,
we,
he's
do
in
you
the
want,
midst of all kinds of medical shit.
oh, okay. Well, do you want me to pull another name and we can come back to him then after this other person?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So let me see who comes out next. That would be classic. Whoever's not here. Karen, you're the first person out of the bowl to share. So even though it says Carmen on there, we know you're Karen.
Yeah, I'm using Carmen's computer.
So do your thing, Karen. Tell us your full name, where you're located, and an adjective or phrase to describe Jeremy. That's how we wanted to start today.
My name is Karen Schultz, and I'm in Louisville, Colorado. And an adjective,
Huh.
kindly.
Oh, that's a nice one. Kindly, beautiful.
Yeah.
So
Intelligent, smart.
Mhm. Don't take up all the adjectives. Only one adjective per dreamer. So, is there any story you want to tell us then today?
Including Jeremy?
Yeah, just some memory or something, some part that you want to share with everybody today.
I remember at the dream retreats, we would set up meetings with him in particular, just one-on-ones.
Uh-huh.
And he always, every time he would ask me how my spiritual decisions and my life was going. And he was very interested in the fact that I was pagan.
Uh-huh.
And he never, I felt free to talk to him about it all. And he never tried to convince me of other things. He never tried to, tell me I was wrong. He never, we would talk about it and he would say, yeah. And he would bring up these deities that I would say, well, I'm learning about this deity. And he would tell me all this stuff about her. Like, wow, how did you know all that? So I was always excited to have those meetings with him.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, he was very tolerant, very patient, very knowledgeable, incredible stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So another thing I forgot, is that it? Did you want to share anything else?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Another thing I was going to say is if you have a response to someone's sharing and you really want to say something about it, please put it in the chat, and then Patty will read the chat comments for us so that we can make an opportunity for everybody to share. So is Bob there, Deb? We can go back to him. Don't, you're muted. There you go.
He said he's not at my house right now, so I just texted him.
Oh, okay.
I'll try and call him too.
Okay. Well, we'll just hold him over here on the side, and just in case. Okay. All right. So let's pull another name. See who else comes out of the
I was modeling the chat room, Billy, by saying Karen's been side by side Billy for so long. No coincidence that she was first. So
that's
that
true.
was my thought when Karen was talking. I was like, oh, well, isn't that interesting? Like she came on last, but she was the first to speak. And I love synchronicity. So there you have it. If there's anything that you think of when people are talking, put it in the chat room and I'll share with everybody.
Okay, here comes Bob. He just came into the waiting room. All right. Bob Gardner. We have two Bobs, so I should use last names too. Hey, Bob. Hey, there you are. Welcome. Good to see
Thank
you.
you.
Your name came out of the bowl to share a story about Jeremy.
Okay, you want me to do it now?
Yes, it's your turn because your name was chosen.
Thank you. My name is Robert Gardner. I live in Basalt. I have the fortune to be married to Deborah Bradford, and we participated with several workshops with Jeremy and with Billy in the past. And it's not by way of story, but it's more by way of uh, a sense in my being about what a gifted human being he was, and about the kinds
Mm.
of things he had to say, and the kinds of um, information he had readily at his fingertips. So I was always very blessed to feel welcomed and at home in his presence. So I miss him dearly. So thank
Oh,
you.
I know. Yeah. Thank you, Bob. Yeah, that was it. It was just he always had the right. I was always amazed at how it was so fascinating that he seemed to read every book and watch every movie and know every play and relate to everything that anybody was talking about. I thought, when does he have time to do all this stuff? Because on not only traveling around the world teaching dream work, he's also teaching at all these universities. And I thought, man, he's found a way to bend time. So, I mean, it's just incredible to me. It was incredible to me. So anyway, thanks for that, Bob. That's very great. Yeah. Okay, let's just keep going. See, I want to hear everybody's stories. Okay, let's see who's in.
We've got a chat, Billy. So
Uh-huh. Oh,
it sounds like Billy Ortiz, which was you describing Jeremy sounded like Billy. And then Linda Dahl said that's what she was thinking. So
oh, well, thank you very much. That's very nice. He often showed up in my dreams, and it was we had when I worked one-on-one with him. It was oh, here's the dream Jeremy again, and what's he doing now? It was always interesting. So Carla, your name came out of the bowl.
Yay! Hi. First, Billy, thanks so much for doing this.
Oh, you're welcome.
You're just always so on it, and I appreciate everything you do for us in our dream group and on Zoom and
Yeah.
the experience that you've had with the retreats and everything. I just really appreciate it. Just want you to know that. So
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
anyway, oh gosh, I have such a deep appreciation and profound gratitude for the gift that Jeremy was and continues to be in my life, and also in my dream work practice. I began following Jeremy on the recommendation of a mutual friend in Oregon many years before I was able to even attend my first workshop, which ended up being in Boulder. And oh, I was nervous and excited, and I was finally going to get to meet this teacher. And on that first meeting, I felt as though I had found my way home.
Oh.
Not only my dream work practice, but to my mentor and my friend. And Jeremy's rich insight and exquisite wisdom into dream work really came through, in everything that you could imagine being with him in workshops and all, but also in our dream work sessions. And his generosity and compassion and his feedback just knew no bounds as a mentor and as a friend.
Yeah.
And my favorite phrase of Jeremy's was when, in offering feedback that was of the utmost depth and he knew was going to be challenging, he would, and that it was going to be challenging for me to see differently. He would always preface it with, knowing my friend Carla. My friend Carla. And I loved that. I just loved it. So
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful for Jeremy's unwavering support in my work and in using dreams as a tool for healing through loss and transition with the bereaved. And he was instrumental in supporting me to expand my original work with Dreaming Kevin and in presenting dream workshops for the bereaved and all. So I'm just forever grateful to Jeremy for helping me to see my dreams and ultimately myself differently with love and compassion. And so praise for him would be companion. And he continues to be that, I think, for all of us in our waking life and in our dream life. And I'm from Montrose, Colorado.
That was perfect. You did exactly 3 minutes, so go ahead.
Okay.
And you're in Montrose, is that what you said?
Colorado.
All right. Great. Well, thank you, Carla. Yeah, I mean I remember exactly what you're saying. So like when I could consider myself as my friend Billy, when I imagine myself as my friend Billy, then it was like, oh, okay, I'm your friend.
Yeah, yeah, and it was true, and I know that. I mean, you couldn't meet him without feeling that way.
Right.
Him giving you that, but it was just it was yeah, it was just beautiful.
So you were going to say something, Patty?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Is anybody else hearing the feedback I was when Carla was
Yes.
talking? I don't know if it's because somebody's not on mute or if there's something in your background, Carla, but just be sure to mute when you're not talking. And I don't know what it was. Maybe it had something to do with the speaker on your computer. But
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
see,
it's something to do with
kind
her.
of a
It's a
rumbling.
kind of an interference sort of sound. It wasn't too bad though. We heard everything you said though. So thank
Okay.
you.
I think
Thanks.
it's the table. I'm going to change my table. All right. Thanks. Bye.
All right, bye. Okay, cool. All right. So was there more chats that we have, Patty? Anything else? Okay. That's
Just me shouting, mute, mute.
oh, okay. All right. So let's see if we have somebody else here coming up. Royce, it's your turn.
Well, first of all, hello to everybody. And there are many of you that I know deeply and I love. And I'm happy to see you all. So, and through the gift of Jeremy, we've had a circle of being able to affect each other eternally. And you know, as I say that also backwards and forwards and in the present. So we are forever connected in the past and in the present and in the future. So I love you all, and it's wonderful to see you. One of my first memories of Jeremy is not meeting him, but reading his book. And of all things, I was in Cheyenne, Wyoming at the Barnes and Noble, which where I am right now is about 2 blocks away. And I found this amazing book about where the title lovingly grabbed me and said, let's see, how does the title go? Where
People fly.
where people fly and water runs uphill. And I thought, with a title like that, that is just so cool. And I started looking at it, and as you know, I have a doctoral degree and all that shit, and it's like I had been so overwhelmed because I wanted to be Jungian, I wanted to be Freudian, I wanted to be gestaltish, I wanted to be this or that. And it's like, I read Jeremy's book, Standing in the Aisle, a lot of it. And it's like, oh, I don't have to do all of those things. I can simply appreciate the wisdom that all of us carry, and that validates all of these other theoretical approaches, as well as the theoretical approach that I carry or that you carry. And it was so healing and refreshing. And then about a year later or so, I met him at Village Retreat. So one of my favorite, I have a lot of favorite memories of Jeremy, what I've learned, both in individual consultation, which I think I did around, I don't know, 15 years-ish with him, as well as attending the dream work retreats, and also helping him in several other locations throughout the country. But when I would share these very bizarre dreams, and I always appreciate that I cannot alone interpret my dream.
Right.
And I would share these bizarre, convoluted, strange movie that I dreamed. I would watch him, because we did it on Skype, I would watch him move around, you know, kind of like this. And then it's like, Jeremy, how are you going to get to anything with something so confusing? And And you know, within 60 seconds or so, he would start spouting this wisdom and truth, always in a projective manner. And I was drawn in. I loved it, and how that taught me to be with people in new ways of understanding how the projective process is always within us, and much of the time it's best if we own it.
Yeah.
And so that changed my practice, changed who I am, changed my friendships, changed my therapeutic relationships, and confused people because they wanted somebody to be expert and to interpret for
Yeah.
them.
Right.
And Jeremy and then Royce, learned how to just let that go and not do it as much.
Mm.
So I will always appreciate that. And as I gaze at all of you who've been a part of that journey for me, I'm forever in debt to you. And I thank you for that.
Yeah. Excellent.
Now I'm working for world peace on a micro level here in Cheyenne at the Air Force Base. So that's where I'm at.
Royce is currently undercover.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I remember every time I would connect with them on Zoom, I loved looking at this a massive amount of books and papers and everything behind him. And it was always cool to see what's his t-shirt today. So much more fun than connecting by phone. So that's beautiful. Thank you, Royce.
Thank you.
Okay, let's pull another name. This is fun. I'm enjoying everybody's stories. Robin.
Yay. Billy and Patty, thank you again for bringing us all together. I'm really, really grateful to get to honor Jeremy with all of you today. So I'm Robin Hubbard, and I currently living in Aspen, Colorado. And I've just been thinking of a little phrase, about Jeremy, and just to borrow a little bit of Carla, what you said, the thing that comes to mind is heartfelt shamanic companion.
Mm.
And I
Wow.
just, yeah, I mean, to me, Jeremy was a shaman, a dream shaman. And along with, I used to always call him a walking encyclopedia, as you all, others you have mentioned. But and such an incredible friend to each one of us. I mean, that's what I'm so struck by, that he was a mentor and a friend, and to whatever degree he was to each of us, he was that deeply to each of us. And that really always strikes me so much about Jeremy and inspires me. And, it's something that it continues to inspire me. And I feel like I still call on his presence so much when I'm working with people, myself, or just in my own dream work. And I feel grateful to feel that sense of closeness and still feel his presence with me. Yeah. So hopefully we all feel that just as poignantly as I do. But I don't know, Jeremy, I'm sure I'll probably be the first to cry, because I always am. But
I don't think you'll. I might be right there with you, Robin.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure a lot of people will. But I don't know what to say. I mean, Jeremy changed my life completely. And when I first met him in '97, at when I was in my doctoral program, and one of the first classes I took with him, and then I just never stopped, because he was such a soul friend. At least that's how we felt. And I feel like, I don't know what to say, but he changed my life completely in so many ways. He enriched my life. I did bring him to Aspen. Deborah and Bob, you were there, I think 3 or 4 years. And those were some of my most special times with him, just because we got to spend some extra time, just he and I together, and just getting to know each other more and working his dreams. And it was just really special time that I'll always cherish. So thank you all.
Thank you, Robin. You bless us with your tears, as Jeremy would say.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that was for me, that's Robin, that's the thing that I specifically felt such a loss, was not only the dream work, but the times when I would drive you back and forth from the airport, or, we'd have meals and I have to rush and get him fed before we had to do the event. And we just had the greatest conversations, so yeah, just to
Special time.
be able to have that one-on-one. Thank you. Beautiful. Okay. Anybody else? Let's see what's going on here. We have a lot of names in here still. In Young, it's your turn.
Hi everyone, my name is Inyoung. I live in Colorado, just south of Denver. And first of all, really thank you to organize the meeting. Yeah. Yes, I met Jeremy at 2005 in Korea. He visited Korea for dream work from 2004. In my memory, he visited till 2010. So most of times I was in the dream work. And then after from the second years, I helped to organize the dream work. So, and yeah, I choose the 3 word, most impressive word. First, shameless. I'm not a native English, so it was very hard to understand him. But the shameless projection, he said many times. And then when I do dream work, I could recall and I could understand why he said shameless. So more and more when I do project with my real heart, I can say
shameless. Yeah, shameless. Shameless project.
Yeah. And then second one, toolkit. The reason why some people, they imagine toolkit is a container of a real tool. So in Korea, we laughed about the toolkit. Yes. So, and then third one is a projection. So I learned the meaning of the projection by him. And then, so I think the projection is the most idea and concept in my life, and for my inner work. So more and more, I can, it's really helpful to have a good relationship with people, to understand the people, and then understand myself. So
excellent. Yeah,
it's a really good. And then I'd like to share one memory about Jeremy Taylor.
Yeah, please do.
Maybe it is in 2009 or 2008. One time he did several times dream work when he visited one time, or 3 or 4 times or 5 times.
Oh, that's okay. Keep going.
So one time he got a phone call from his wife, Kathryn. She had to go to the hospital, and then she had to stay in the hospital. So he was very nervous. And then Jeremy started to get nervous and worried about her. Really, he'd like to stay with her, but it was really far. So so we felt how they were close couple.
Yes.
They were really close, and then they really it was very unhappy moment for them.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to think about how we could help them. So there was in in the group there was a professional singer. So we called to the Kathryn, and then turn on
Yeah.
the mic, and then the singer started to started to sing a song.
Oh,
So we so it was a really good moment. So
yeah.
especially Jeremy Taylor passed away right after she passed
Right.
away.
That's right. We're only like 3 days apart.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I thought this memory.
All right. Well,
Thank
thank you. That's beautiful.
you.
Thanks so much. Julie showed up, but I've already got her name in the bowl. So Julie, we're doing our turns now, so I'm glad that she's here now too, so we can see who else has a story. Jean Catherine.
Oh, first of all, it's so good to see all of you. It's been a long time. I'm Jean Catherine. I live in California, and I used to come regularly to the Colorado Dream Family reunions called the retreats, and that was absolutely delightful. So I'm glad to be here today. Jeremy, there's this unconditional loving that he had, and I found that I didn't know him as well as I wasn't as close to Jeremy as a lot of you were. And I know that part of that is I was still a recovering perfectionist at the time, and his encyclopedic ability to say everything that was like so profound, I just kind of stayed quiet. And yet every time I saw him, he approached me and he hugged me as a friend, and he saw my gifts better than I saw my gifts at that time. And I'm forever grateful to him for that unconditional loving quality that he had.
That's good.
My favorite moment in dream work, it was at Sunrise Ranch, and there was a young man there, I don't remember his name, who was sharing a dream, and it was a dream about his cousin in a New York subway. And as we unpacked that dream, my nephew, the previous fall, had taken his life, and he lived in New York. And in that time together, Jeremy shared some information about his belief about conditions that are called like schizophrenia or other diagnoses. And he said that, his belief was that at some level, they are more like on the cutting edge of the evolution of human consciousness, because there's an ability to hold variety of opinions and consciousnesses at the same time.
Whoa, yeah.
That's something I still share to this day. And I was so grateful that it was part of my healing after my nephew's death, and to have it all come together through somebody else's dream it was one of those my top JT, Jeremy Taylor, Billy's magic that happened in that circle. So I'm very grateful for that, and thrilled to be with the rest of you today. And dreams continue. Now I bring alchemy into dreams. And that's the final thing I'll say about Jeremy. Generous. He
Great.
was so excited about everybody else taking this work and making it their own. And I'm happy to say he's probably smiling a little more about me now because I'm finally doing it. So I'm very excited about that.
That's great. Thank you. Excellent. Good job to you. You had 2 seconds left, Jean. You did great with the timing. Thank you very much. I love that. I do not remember that specific dream, but boy, do I sure remember Sunrise Ranch. I did a total of 13 dream retreats there. It was like over a long period of time. So it's good to know that that was healing You know, he had such a ability to talk to everyone on the same level. That was one of the things that for me meant so much was I stood next to him so often, you know, as he would say hello or goodbye to the dreamers as they arrived or departed, and he would treated everybody so equally. It didn't matter where you were from or your occupation or your level of education. It was just he was treated everybody the same. That was amazing. Yeah. So
Laura put yes, generous and encouraging in the chat room, and yeah, wasn't he? He was. He was just like everybody's friend. There was no, nobody was better or worse. Everybody was just surrounded by that love. It's amazing, amazing, amazing man, mystic.
oh, okay. Donna, it's your turn. You're muted, so just turn off your mute, please.
Everyone has already said everything I meant to say. It was so wonderful listening to your praise because it's also my praise of Jeremy. And what I recall is that I met Jeremy in 2008. Billy may correct me on that. At the first retreat I have ever attended, because that's the year in which I discovered Billy. I attended her retreat that year, and that's where I met Jeremy. And in a private conversation, we shared each other's ages and talked about the aging process. And it was valuable to me because he had additional insight on what it's like to be growing older and to be an elder. And I would also like to say that I was so enamored by him that I shared my homemade chicken soup with him.
That's right.
For lunch. Maybe that wasn't the same retreat because my memory may not.
That's a different retreat, but that's okay. Go ahead.
The retreat at which I shared my chicken soup with Jeremy, I recall that a dream I got to share because my name was pulled was about how anytime this black man hovered over me, I would have an orgasm.
I remember that so clearly.
Maybe you probably remember the whole dream better than I do, but it brought up the subject of my sex life or lack thereof. And it was a really good conversation that I think meant a lot to other women, and about embracing the shadow. And Jeremy had such insight. I'm not sure, but I think that there was a bobby pin in the dream. A bobby pin fell out of my hair or something like that. And Jeremy took, I would say, 20 minutes talking about what that bobby pin symbolize. And all of a sudden we were talking about Greek and Roman mythology and the gods and the goddesses, all in relation to this little image of a bobby pin. And that's the depth at which we all experience Jeremy. And it was wonderful. And he also hugged me on that first meeting as though I had been his friend for years. I loved that.
Yeah, that's what's incredible. Yeah, thank you, Donna. That's so nice. I do remember, I thought it was beef stew, not chicken stew, but maybe, I don't know, I can't remember. That could have been both.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I do remember the dream, that the first dream you shared at that was when we were at Franciscan Retreat Center, and that's a whole different story.
In Colorado Springs, that's right.
Right. Okay. Let's see who else is coming out of the bowl here. Azima.
Hey, okay. I know you can't see me very well. I try to mess with the lighting in here, but it's just impossible in the daytime. I don't know if any of you have seen this book.
Oh, yeah.
It's by Jeremy. He wrote it in 1974. And I started going to Star King School for the Ministry in 1973, and he was teaching the dream class there. I took it every semester until I graduated. And when I graduated, he said, "You keep doing dream work." So I've been doing that ever since. I was very close with him and Kath, and we had a private dream group, just the four of us and maybe two other people. Yeah. As far as an adjective goes, you've all said all the ones that come from my heart, but there's something else I want to mention because it's so incredible. Groundbreaking. The whole dream work world has been completely turned upside down by what he did.
Yeah.
You know, there isn't anybody that doesn't now say, if you're in a group, you should say, "If it were my dream," or "in my projection of a dream." And that's
Right.
pure Jeremy. I want to read you. He wrote an afterword to this book 10 years later, in 1985, 11 years later. And I want to read this to you because it's a gripping story. I hope I don't go over the 3 minutes.
It's okay.
One Friday night, late in the year of 1974, I was driving my ramshackle old VW Bug home over familiar Marin County back roads, made strange and new by darkness and the lateness of the hour. Oh, shoot, come on. I was going over in my mind the endlessly fascinating and complex events of the regular dream group meeting that had taken place earlier that evening. I was on my way back from the final chore of the night, driving the babysitter home, when suddenly the voice of an old woman started speaking with startling clarity in my inner self. The voice was so surprising, so unbidden, and so, I'm going to put my glasses on, I'm sorry. He typed this whole thing up, by the way. It's all typed. The voice was so surprising, so unbidden, and so clearly not mine that my first conscious thought was to turn and look around to see if some old homeless bag lady had slipped into the car and hidden in the back seat during the brief time when I was walking the babysitter to her door. But I realized even before I turned my head that it was not a voice vibrating in the air around me. It was an interior voice, a voice of inspiration. Flash of fear, tingling skin. Am I going mad? Madness and creative inspiration are different paths in the same forest. I know that, but I've never experienced the similarity quite so dramatically before. The voice was so vivid and so auditory. Shall I pull off the road and scribble in my notebook? No, I have no flashlight with me, and the dome light in this old car had never worked in all the years we've owned it. Even if I find a street light and pull off to right by its light, the police in this affluent, well-patrolled part of the county will only come along and interrupt me. I can imagine the scene. Everything's all right, officer. I'm just writing a poem. I want to catch it before the inspiration slips away. Yes, sir, of course. Would you step out of the car now, please? She continued speaking. I thought with frustration about Coleridge and the infamous Man from Porlock. I don't know what that is. I drove on, struggling with the fear that if I didn't respect the inspiration and stop to take dictation right in the moment when it came, I would lose it. But if I did stop, the almost inevitable hassles with the police would also almost certainly result in losing it. So I continued to drive, listening with increasing excitement and awe to the story as it unfolded, and hoping desperately that when I got home, I would be able to recapture the words from the beginning. I was blessed. When I got home and sat down at the kitchen table, the voice began again from the beginning. I sat up writing for several more hours, and for the rest of the weekend, I continued to take dictation as the old woman's voice spoke in my ear with this curiously physical and distinct tone and quality. And then he goes on to say he had to go to a workshop for the weekend and he was afraid he was going to lose it, but he didn't. He didn't. But I just want to read you the first stanza of this incredible thing.
Azima,
which is called Queen Jocasta.
yeah, I'm sorry, but we have like 10 more people that want to
Okay.
share. So maybe what you can do is you can copy this and send it to us later. That also appears at the end of his book, Living Labyrinth. So anybody who owns the book Living Labyrinth can read Queen Jocasta. But yeah, if you want to later, it's totally fine if you want to send us something written, but we really have a lot of other people here that want to share. So
Got it.
thank you for everything though. That was very wonderful. Let's see who else is. We have at least 10 more names in the bowl here. So I just want to hear from everybody who wanted to share. So Kathryn, you are up.
Thank you. Hello. Okay, Kathryn Woods, Fort Collins, Colorado. And the word that came to me is one that's already been shared, but I'm going to share it again, plus two others. For me, Jeremy, qualities that I felt strongly emanate from Jeremy were generosity, breadth, and depth.
Wow.
And some of my favorite words that he used when he would talk with us in those wonderful retreats is when he would come in and he would have an insight about something that he needed to frame in a way that took his own, he definitely would own that this was the way he was seeing something, but he would frame it by saying shameless hijacking. And I just love that. It was a wonderful example of a phrase to use, especially because I myself would have times when I would have an idea about a dream and want to talk about it and realize that it was my own version of shameless hijacking. So the last thing that I want to share is that the thing that I appreciated so much about Jeremy was his ability to be nonverbal. There at the end of all these wonderful workshops, there was the moment when he would give me a loving hug that was nonverbal. And frankly, for somebody as verbal and word oriented as I am and as he is, it was a very special moment to have a loving hug with Jeremy.
Oh, I know. Oh, thank you. Yes, that's beautiful. His hugs, definitely. That's wonderful. Thank you, Kathryn. Let's see who we got. A lot more people here. Mike, you came out of the bowl. And you got to unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, Billy, thanks so much for doing this. And Patty, it's so great. It's so great seeing everyone. It's been a long time since I've seen a lot of you. I just think how important Jeremy was to me and how his life still means so much to me that, and I would say a man like this exists, and how important that was for me that this, is a big bear of a man who was just so nurturing and supportive. By the way, I'm Mike Tapp and I'm in Denver. And the word I was thinking of him is supportive. I think of the foreword he wrote in Patty's book, and so often you would, in almost any dream book you would pick up, he would be so supportive and helpful and write something for you. It was always that way. But that this man existed, he could riff on the animated cartoons of Simpsons to Plato to myths. People have talked about that. Just incredible to listen to. And I feel like such a lucky man to have known him, because somebody mentioned feeling home. It's the same way with me. When I was having my dreams looked at in Avalon Institute in Boulder, they would be analyzed and I would say, well, that's interesting. And somebody said to me, I think you'd like Jeremy Taylor. And he had a workshop, and it's the first time I met Billy. This was years ago. Billy is one of the first workshops we'd ever been to, I think, with Jeremy. And that feeling of home and how much, he created a space where we could tell our truths, and how important that was for all of us, not just somebody who told their dream, but our experience of living that other person's dream, and how much we all became more ourselves by being in that space that he created, and how we learned not just by telling our dreams, but by listening to others and realizing we are all we are all in the same boat here.
We're all one, yeah.
And so I just think of him, I just think of him all the time and how important it is that he exists and existed and exists now. And look how it's brought us together and how, and the people we are now because we all knew him. And I just loved him so much, and I'm glad we could do this. And the thing about doing this, there's grief too. And that's so important to feel, because so much of what we did in these dream groups was feel. I mean, we were putting words on our feelings, and sometimes those feelings were so hard to express, and together we did that. So I just feel like such a lucky man to know him, and I miss him dearly.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I do remember, Mike, how you and I would follow Jeremy around. We were like Denver, Boulder, wherever he might appear. And we'd always see each other in the group, and we didn't get to know each other till later. But yeah, it was we were the Jeremy groupies. That's beautiful. Thanks. Okay, so
that made me think about grief and praise, Billy, that you always mention that. And I appreciate that, Mike, because yes, there is grief and praise here in this group today. And Billy often quotes Martine Prechtel. And
yeah, that you can't have one without the other. Yeah, when you're grieving, you're praising, and when you're praising, you're grieving. So Robert Quinn, you came out of the bowl. And can you unmute yourself, please?
Sorry.
That's all right.
I should know that. I live on Zoom these days.
I know. Don't we all?
So I'm new to everyone here, I think, other than Royce. I think I had some email contact with Royce years ago. I'm speaking from Tucson, Arizona, though I live most of the year in Portland, Oregon. I met Jeremy in '93. I was in a men's dream group in Eugene, Oregon at the time, and he came one weekend. And then a year of walkabout, a career change, going into Chinese medicine, and being a lazy scholar of Chinese medicine, I didn't even realize that chapter 43 of the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Internal Medicine reads as if Jeremy Taylor wrote it.
Oh.
and I became aware of this, and it's an interesting story, but it was a big moment. I started working dreams from the Chinese medicine perspective using the symbol system of Chinese medicine.
Right.
And within 3 months, I look up Jeremy's number and I call him. Well, he says he remembers me, but I don't believe it. He'd just be kind in his way. And I said, would you come up here? I'd like to, because I have a seminar hosting company. We focus not on dreams, but acupuncture. And he said, sure. And I don't know why he did, because as I said, I'm sure he didn't remember me, didn't know what he was getting into. And it blew his mind. And Patty started, and the word paradox or paradoxical came up. So Friday, I hosted him 3 times. The last was the 100th anniversary of Thomas Merton's birth. And but the first time he just did a normal Friday evening orientation, the process we're going to use, and he mentioned one dream of his wife, Kathy. He didn't work it. He just made a minor point. There were, maybe you've heard this dream of her driving on Pacific Coast Highway and observing people fishing and throwing the fish up on the beach, never intending to use them, wasteful. She pulls over to try to stop them. There's more to the dream, of course, but he didn't work it other than to point out that the fish could be a Christian symbol, and she had teaching in a seminary at the time.
Right.
Following morning, I'm not used to this Tucson dry weather, at the Paradox Cafe in Portland before the seminar. And I didn't know anything about Kathy's condition. I said, can I take a shot at Kathy's dream? And we ended up working it. And I said, if this dream came to me, I mean, I went through the whole thing, I'd send this person to a cardiologist right away.
Ooh, yeah.
He just dropped his fork And he said, if we had known that when the dream came, the situation we're in now, maybe we wouldn't be in it. So that's what sold him on the idea that the Chinese medicine symbol system pops up regularly in dreams. I won't say always. That he of course was familiar with the dreams can have medical insights because he had all those years in the AIDS hospice. But that he, after 40 plus years, saw an entirely new symbol system was thrilling for him. And he loved coming back to Portland every year.
Yeah.
I really miss him. You know, I work dreams with him very regularly on the phone, and, you know, did the Marin Institute program with him. And it's, I feel bereft in my life without him. That he had a position in my life of kind of spiritual mentor. He's a grounded mystic. I care a lot about class issues, gender issues. He was a mystic at heart, but he was thoroughly grounded and well aware of the mess we've made of things here and how much work we have to do.
Yeah.
Class issues, always call himself a red diaper baby, and gender issues. His parents were communists. So I guess that would be my description, grounded mystic. Someone else already mentioned mystic, but maybe the grounded piece a little bit added. So I appreciate being invited in because I really don't know anyone here. Of course, he always talked to me about the Colorado gathering was the highlight of his year. And I wish I had managed to get there. So thank you all for putting this together.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And maybe if you can, at some point, we'd love to hear via email or whatever afterwards why that particular dream led you to the cardiologist piece. I would be very interested in learning about that myself. So as a dream worker. So yeah, that would be great if you could put that together for us at some point.
Thanks,
but thank
Robert.
you for everything you shared.
So we have a little message from Denise about that, saying that Jeremy talked about the Chinese medicine level awareness a lot after this experience. He truly was blown away by learning this later in his life.
Yeah, it was something I heard him mention over and over and over again, how much he was impressed with the ability of everyone to see through the elements that were available in the dream to the diagnosis. Okay, Pat, you're the next one out of the bowl.
Thank you, Billy and Patty, for gathering this wonderful group and reflections. I'm in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and I'm so envious of all your connections with Jeremy Taylor. I did 2 workshops back in the very early 90s, connected with Matthew Fox. And so, but the 2 workshops that I did with him, and then just reading some of his books, were very, very important, life-changing for me. The word I chose for Jeremy was as a healer. And I experienced him doing this with people in the groups of dream work. And it was very profound. I think that from my perspective, he was a very, very deep listener.
Yeah.
And taught me to be more quiet than to talk, and to learn how to listen, and then invite other people to share their experiences and their thoughts in a group that helped the whole group work together. And that was really profound for me, from thinking that I'm alone to experiencing that I'm in a group and that it is, that's where the profound work takes place.
Yeah.
So that's my words, I think. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. That's beautiful.
I just want to say something. When Pat was talking, I was just thinking about how Jeremy has brought us all together, people globally together, and how I met really his work through you. And then I got to be here, and now we're all sharing it together. And as I did that, I look up, and there's a eagle nest near my house. The bald eagle was like circling and circling and circling all around. So Jeremy wanted to say, yeah, he's brought us all together.
Oh, that's great. And I think he was playing the trickster with me earlier when I couldn't find the record button. That was just right there in front of me. I'm like, what is going on here? I've done it so many times. I was like, this is really strange. Okay, let's see who's next. Linda.
Hi. It's good to see everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm Linda Dahl. I live in Denver. I did live in Longmont and found the Dream Group when I lived there. So I had a rare opportunity to, my first encounter with Jeremy was at one of Billy's retreats. So the adjective I had for Jeremy was, he revered the divine feminine.
Yes, it's true.
I always would, when he spoke of the divine feminine, it was like he was in another place. And I was always felt honored by that as a woman. So the first dream retreat I went to, I had the opportunity to have my dream read for the group. And I remember picking it out and wanting to make sure it was a dream where my ex-husband didn't show up.
Wow. I remember that
Some
so
of you
well.
know that, yes. And I failed to remember and read through it, and my ex-husband did show up in the last sentence of the dream, the last image. And so I opened that dream up. I took notes and typed them up and just wanted to share the last image in a dream is where the dream was trying to get. So much to my dismay, we did focus on the last image in that dream, and that was my ex-husband.
Yeah.
I do remember though his comment, one of his comments, and it was then grateful because I know that everybody in the group could have had that impact in their own lives as well. So he was an incredibly in-depth person. What he could do with our dreams was just truly miraculous. I didn't know him personally very well, but I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to be in a retreat with him a couple times.
Yeah.
Thanks for including me. Yeah.
Actually, Linda, you hold the distinction of being one of the few that we hit the very last retreat that I worked with them in 2015 at the Spring Hill Suites. We had a group of, I don't know, 20 something people, and that I didn't know that was the last time I was going to work with him in person, but you were there, and so those of us who were there that last time to get those bear hugs for the last time.
Yeah.
I think I felt, that was only the second time I'd been with him, but I also felt a difference in him.
Yeah.
That he needed us.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And the pictures, I can tell the difference in the pictures.
Yeah, I was glad that I felt like we were a support.
Yeah.
It was really a good thing too.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much.
So Azima says that Jeremy referred to himself more than once as a devotee of the goddess. And are you going to call Elizabeth Herr's name right now? Is that what you're getting ready to do?
I was about to, yeah. Yeah.
I knew synchronicity at its best. she was messaging me saying she has to leave exactly at 2:30. So
Oh, okay. Well,
yay!
all right. Well, the dream ball heard your needs.
Well, I'm glad because I do a little jobbing and I drive for Amazon Flex. So I have to be at a certain place at a certain hour to pick up packages
Yeah.
and make some cash in the pandemic.
Yeah.
So it's 7 days a week. But actually, I'm really, really glad this is coming together, and I've missed all of you. I've moved away from Colorado in 2010. I think I made one more dream retreat after that in 13 after the floods. In
Oh,
that
yeah.
motel, I remember that. And then it just didn't work out anymore, and then he was gone.
Yeah.
I think the word for me, for him, always just has been wizard.
That's
To
good.
me, he
I
was
like
a
that.
wizard.
Yeah.
And the reason I said I remember, and this, I will observe anonymity, but not confidentiality. And I don't know if the person who had that dream is here, and that's not the point. It was a dream a woman related about going to the house next door, meeting some people in the basement, going up to the top and connecting with a young boy. And we're all going, what does it mean? What does it mean? And then Jeremy says, this is a point where I have to decide whether about the rules of propriety. And should I say what I truly feel? And should I say what's coming to me? And he said, and I decide to do it. And he says, to me, this is a dream about having had an abortion and coming to terms with a child. And I'm going to cry. And we're blown away.
Yeah.
I remember we're all sitting there going, where the fuck? How the heck did he get that? And to me, that was just truly inspired.
Oh.
So that to me means he was an absolute wizard. Another thing I remember is some of us in the groups come from other religious backgrounds that are a little more boxy and constringent or whatever. And more than one of us expressing, this is our spiritual practice. Yeah. This is what we do. Mm-hmm. And I've really valued that. It is not the usual meet on Sunday, whatever, but there's a certain continuity and there's a certain connection that we continue through with this by honoring ourself, our paradox, our shadow. It's been really amazing. And one dream that I remember was so short, I thought, what are we going to get out of this? As I was sitting there going, I have 2 hours to charge my German cell phone. Spent like an hour and a half on the German cell phone and having to go to Germany and plugging in a different identity in a different cellular matrix when I meet my family in Germany than when I'm here in the States where I've lived for 2/3 of my life now. So
wow.
That's, to me, he's been, a wizard, an amazing man, and we all miss him dearly. And thank you for letting me talk.
Yeah,
I miss you all.
We miss you too, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for all that. I was there when when the woman shared the dream that he said that I feel like this is an anniversary dream. And if it were me, this is the anniversary of an abortion. And I was like, I was on the floor. I couldn't even understand where he got that from, but it rang so true for her.
Well, and I was sitting there watching the group and going, where the hell is he coming from? And I watched the dreamer and she said nothing. And I thought, oh my God, it has to be true.
Yeah.
And then her first words were, I'm trying to remember how old I was when that happened.
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
Another amazing story. Thank you so much. Okay, let's see. And
I remember that too. And I think he handled it so well. You know, it was like he wanted to say it, but he also wanted to be really respectful of the dreamer. Yeah, he definitely was a wizard. going back to the chat, Robin mentioned about the divine feminine earlier. He truly embodied the divine feminine and was her greatest cheerleader for each of us, bringing her forward. Would agree.
That's beautiful. So if anybody else needs to leave right at 2:30, let us know in the chat because we have about 4 more names left. Mary.
Me.
All right, Mary.
Okay. I'm Mary Froze, and I currently live in Hastings, Nebraska. So I seem to move around every couple years for better or worse.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how many of the retreats I went to. I know I went to the inaugural one in 2003.
And you went to the last one too. The last one
So
I
that
did
was
with
the last one. Okay.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when I was living in Colorado Springs, which doesn't seem that long ago.
Yeah.
But so for all the retreats I went to with Jeremy, I'm the type of person that gets awestruck to the point where I don't have anything to say. And so overwhelmed by so much of the stuff that went on in the dream retreats, but learned so much. But the biggest impact Jeremy had on me, and my word for him is fatherly.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Or maybe even Papa-ish. And of course, I've been sitting here listening to everybody, and the dog was quiet, and now she's going to bark.
Yeah.
Anyway, hush. So the thing that happened for me wasn't in the context of working on dreams, but it was walking down the sidewalk at Sunrise Ranch.
Mm. Oh.
And it was just Jeremy and me just sharing some conversation. And because he was like a papa, he knew everything about me, even though I said nothing. So I was a fairly new guardian mom of he was 6 when he came to live with me. So he's probably about 7 or a very young 8, my little boy. And we were getting ready to move to Indianapolis, and that's still all Royce's fault that we moved to Indianapolis. And I was afraid of moving this kid. I mean, even though I was his guardian, I was afraid of moving him away from Nebraska and everything that he had known halfway across the country.
Yeah.
And see, now I'm going to cry. And so I was telling Jeremy that, and we just stopped, and he looked at me, he says, you know what's more important? He says, your relationship is more important than a familiar tree.
Wow.
Which to me just gave me some courage to say it's going to be okay to move this kid away from everything that was familiar to him to something brand new.
Yeah. Wow.
And while the move was rough on this little kid, which meant it was rough on me, it was okay. It really was okay. And I had that in the back of my head all the time. Your relationship is more important than a familiar tree.
That's beautiful. Wow.
And that kid is 24 now. Still lives with me.
Yeah.
Even though I keep trying. So the relationship is still more important than the familiar tree. So I will.
That's a beautiful saying. I'm going to remember that for myself. Thank you, Mary. Thank you for that. So I just got in the chat, I saw that Julie has to leave. So I pulled her name out of the bowl so she can share her bit before she has to leave for her next meeting. But I'm loving all these stories, though. Thank you all.
It's amazing to be with you all. Thank you so much for putting this on, Billy and Patty. I feel incredibly emotional, I have to say.
Of course.
The word that comes to me for Jeremy is 2 words: all embracing.
Oh.
He just was so embracing on so many levels, you know, his intellect, his heart, his incisiveness, you know, his just intuitive abilities. And I met him at the Franciscan retreat. I don't remember the year. And my dream was pulled right away and I didn't know what to expect. I think I was really scared. I felt really vulnerable. And what I remember so vividly, I don't really remember the interpretations. I remember him just saying, it must have been really hard to have the mother you had. And no one had ever said that in such a way to me, where I just felt that hug of his just coming right into me and just really holding me in a way that I had never experienced. And so that's what I remember. I remember many things, but his hugs, which were a lot like my own father's hugs, you know, just such a bear hug, like you said, Billy, just, and his ability to hold us all, as you've said already, you know, in such an equal way. There was no hierarchy of any kind. It was just all of us was sacred to him, and he was, of course, sacred to all of us. And that's really, I don't know, I'm sorry, I'm so emotional. I didn't expect to be, and I'm really sorry I was late. My housemate had a bit of a breakdown and I just had to be with her for a bit. And I couldn't just leave that. So I apologize, but he's just such a beautiful soul and so out of the box in so many ways. And
so out of the box.
Yeah.
I love it. I
Just
love it.
love. Just love that. It's funny, and I dream a lot, you know, as we all do. And the other night I had a dream of a tiger holding the full moon in his mouth. And one of my first thoughts was, I wonder what Jeremy would say about that. Because I don't know what that means at all, except it felt very good and aligned. But you know, he's just with me in my heart all the time. And I know with all of us, although I can't speak for all of us, but I don't think we'd be here on this call without that feeling. So yeah, he's not gone. He's just having another adventure, and you know, we can tap in anytime.
That's true. Oh wow.
Thank you.
Well, thanks so much, Julie. And you can watch the video afterwards to see whatever else you know you missed at the beginning.
I would love to. I would love to. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, so now I'm at an interesting position here because Laura was going to share a poem at the end, and Denise is the only other person in the bowl. So I'm wondering, Laura, how do you feel? Do you want to do your piece and your poem together at the end after Denise? Okay, does that sound good? Okay, so Denise, you share your bit, and then we have a bit of a closing after that, and Laura's piece too.
Okay. Well, part of my sharing was going to also be a poem.
Okay. Well, then we're in the poem section of the sharing now.
Hi, I'm Denise Connor. I live outside of Washington. I met Jeremy in 1995, and the words I would say are profoundly respectful and life-changing. I was a total groupie. I followed him around. If he was within a 4 or 5 hour drive, I probably took 25 workshops with Jeremy, and he totally changed my life. I worship at the altar of dreams, totally my spiritual practice. One of the most sacred and profound humans I've ever encountered. And many years before I met Jeremy, I mean, I would occasionally write poetry, not much, but occasionally. And a number of years before I met Jeremy, I wrote this poem, and I didn't know why. But then after I was in a couple of, I figured out this poem came to me for Jeremy before I even knew him. So I would like to share it. the Hayden workshop, the Hayden Institute in North Carolina, where he was a faculty member, had a little memory event for him, and I shared this. But this is what I wrote. Can one's love be spun? I'll spin bushels of yarn. I'll weave you a garment that is soft, strong, and warm. A shirt, a coat, or maybe a cape with small tucks and bold darts. Its form will take shape. The colors will come from the blue of the seas, sparkling gold from the sun, green and brown from the trees. At the neck is a closure forged from silver moonlight, and the collar is trimmed with the black dye of night. The fabric is sturdy, blocking wind, damp, and cold, and while it is worn, despair and fatigue will never take hold. This handcrafted gift is a joyous creation. It's given with love and my deep admiration. So take it and wear it and feel its warm glow. My blessings are with you wherever you go.
Wow. Beautiful.
And I gave him that poem. I sent it to him one year because we exchanged Christmas cards, and he was just very gracious. He really appreciated it. And I loved finally knowing for whom that poem had come to me. And I think about him every day. I think about him every time I remember a dream. I think about him every time I have a dream client. I think about him every time I speak to anyone about dreams. He lives in my heart and in my memory, as he does in all of us. And thank you, Billy, and Patty, for giving us this opportunity to remember him with such wonderful fondness and love.
Oh, that's so great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Denise. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah,
And again, if you can send me a copy, I can send it out to the group afterwards. Go ahead, Patty.
Yeah, Carla was asking for the poem. And also, Robert, thank you so much, because you popped in when Julie was talking about her dream, because I had a feeling you'd have a projection on the tiger and the moon. So what he says is the tiger in Chinese medicine relates to the lungs, and the moon, of course, is yin. And in my version of this dream, since the moon is in the mouth, I'd consider more lung yin nourishing foods. So good. I'm glad you were here still, Julie, to hear that. And
That's
thank
so
you,
good.
Robert. And thank you, Denise, for the poem. And what a great synchronistic way that this has ended up with Laura Dale's name being there.
And,
Because
and
we
are we
wanted her.
surprised after all these years of how this
Yeah.
works?
So
So Laura, you have the floor.
Thank you. Well, I had some notes about things I wanted to say, and then they've evolved as I've heard everything that everyone else has said. I'm Laura Deal. I'm in Boulder, Colorado. I met Jeremy in 2000 at the Naropa event, where I also met Billy. And I'm so grateful for the family that Billy and Jeremy grew here in Colorado at Dream Camp all those years. And it's so good to see so many of you on the call. I think, trying to just summarize, I think one of the things that Jeremy did for me was he validated my own experience as knowing that dreams mattered and recognizing synchronicity in the world. And the first time I met him, I knew we'd never met. I thought he seemed so familiar. And when I walked up to him and introduced myself, he said, "Have we met? You seem so familiar." And that was just like the touchstone of everything that came after. I can remember having a very profound dream after my mom had passed a few months earlier. Some of you were there for the squirrel dream, and the squirrel had urinated on my hand, and Jeremy was like, "Oh, I was just in a car last night that somebody had been hauling squirrels." And I was like, "Why does it smell like squirrel pee?" I was like, "Of course, only Jeremy could do that." And I think often about his line about forgiving each other for the ways in which we are alike, which took me a long time to understand, but resonates more deeply every day. I can remember posing a challenging question to him, or when he would hear a question and he would pause and say, "What an interesting question." and then launch into it. His voice still echoes in my head so much. I guess one other story is from the Institute when he wanted us to study dreams from other cultures and other traditions. And I went to a Robert Moss workshop, and I was having a lot of conflict between things Robert knew was true about dreams and things Jeremy knew were true about dreams that didn't seem to agree. And I went for a walk on this little beach, and a float had washed up and it said "Tailor Made" on it. And I thought, there I am. And the lesson that I got from that was only I can say what's true for me and my own lived experience. I think about him saying, this is much too important for you to take my word for it, but I know it's true. So all of those nuggets, there's just so much you can't summarize or even pick a favorite after all those years of knowing him. Yeah. Did you want me to do the poem now?
This is your time, and we're just closing up. So there's so you can breathe and recite it any way you want.
Well, can I make a suggestion? Because you know
Yes.
me, I'm shamelessly hijacking this.
Yeah, okay.
I do that a lot.
Not that that's ever happened. No, go ahead.
So my vision was to end with a poem and finish with the rhythm of the poem, and so I'm wondering if we could do that and let Billy Billy has a few things she wants to share, right? Don't you?
I'm gonna I'll share
okay.
everything afterwards via email, because I think we've come up real close to the time we had planned to stop anyway, and I don't want to, everything I have to share can be shared via email.
Okay,
But thank you.
For the feeling essence of the poem leading us from this space to the next, I thought I'd really would appreciate, because this is a beautiful poem that Laura has written. I do want to share, there's one more chat from Denise saying how wonderful we can still hear and see him on YouTube. It's not the same, but it's still lovely to see and hear him. And I love that you said that, Laura, the whole can still hear his words. I wish, there's just something about Jeremy.
Well, I certainly heard his words when I was trying to figure out how are we going to structure the group, and I thought I heard it just boom, like put the names in a bowl, like duh, like of course that's the way we've done it with all the dream groups. So it felt right to me.
So thank you all for joining us today. It was so touching to share the stories and the tears and the memories and all of the Jeremy isms that mean so much to us.
Right.
Thank you, Billy, for doing all the heavy lifting and bringing it all together. And
you're welcome.
Happy New Year, everybody. And should we turn it over to Laura?
Yeah, I think this will be a good way to end.
Okay, thank you so much. This is a poem that I wrote for Billy and Jeremy, and it's all from dreams in dream camp. In the Dreamtime Lost and Found, there's a bubblegum pink piggy bank. I glimpsed it there, and it was mine, but somehow I didn't take it. I do hope the Dreamtime Lost and Found has the journal my daughter lost. In my dream, the story of herself slipping away in the airport on her way home from college. I expect the Dreamtime Lost and Found is full of classrooms. All those classrooms I can never find when I need to take the test I didn't know I had in the class I didn't know I'd signed up for. Maybe those other rooms, the ones that open unexpectedly in a corner of the house behind a hidden door, maybe those are the lost classrooms transformed. The Dreamtime Lost and Found might still have my virginity, but since I stopped looking for it a few years after I lost it, they probably tossed it long ago. I do hope they kept my lost dreams, though. Both the aspirations I had for myself and the sleeping visions that slithered away before I could catch them in a net of words. Does the Dreamtime Lost and Found have the map that shows how I got from Changdong to Chongqing in only 4 months? Did I ride the I Ching? But what I really want to know is if the Dreamtime Lost and Found ever had the door out of that locker room, the cement block locker room at the end of all those long halls where the man chased me when I was a little girl. He's going to kill me or cut me up. At least I know he has a knife. And please, oh please, where is that door? Run, little girl, hurry, run until you're trapped and there's no way out but to wake up. Remembering to breathe. That's what matters. Being awake doesn't shake this fear from my bones. This earthquake of a dream crumbled the foundations of my world, night beyond night, saturating my childhood. But at dream camp, things happen. I'm pretty sure the Dreamtime Lost and Found waits around the edges of the circle for the chance to toss in a long forgotten memory. A blue shoe, a scar, a man. What better place to take a quiet moment and re-enter those long cement halls, the man chasing me. But this is not a dream, and I'm no longer 5, so I picture myself stopping, turning, facing him for the first time, asking, "What do you want?" I can't really see his face, but I can see what he holds, and it's not a knife. It's a golden sphere, a ball of light. He holds it out to me. I have come to return your authentic self to you. Oh, little girl, how could you have known that the man from our nightmares was working for the Dreamtime Lost and Found all along? Thank you.
Well, I made it through most of the call without. Anyway, thank you, Laura. That feels right. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for being dreamers. That's all. That's as far as I can make it. Thank you all for being here today. Thanks
Thank you,
so much.
Billy. Thank you, Laura. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Laura. That was wonderful.
Thank you, everybody.
Jeremy, I think Jeremy is smiling.
Oh, man.
Dreamtime Lost and Found. Thank you.
Hey, wonderful. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
I will be sending a link to the recording along with some other things that I wanted to share. So watch for an email from me soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's good to see you
Thank
all.
you. Good to see you all.
Nice to see
Bye.
you all again.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Patty and Billy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Billy.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Billy and Patty.
Yeah, thank you, Billy and Patty. This was amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura, for your piece too.
Thank you.
Bye, Hyunyoung.
Bye.
Nice to see you again.
Good to see you, Royce.
Okay. I'm going to end the call now, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.
Love you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.